Shalom, welcome back. We're going to continue on with our study of Luke's secret code, the Pythagorean connection in Luke Acts. I want to just make a note that the point is not the Pythagorean connection. The Pythagorean connection is really the Essene connection, because we see from other sources that the Pythagoreans essentially learned their doctrine, learned everything that they taught and believed from the Essenes, from the some Jews that were living in Egypt. And so when we talk about the Pythagorean connection, what we're really looking at is the Essene connection. I mentioned the book Plutarch's Parable by Gott. We're also going to be looking at some of the things she talks about in her other book, Gabriel's Gift. But these two books, you can find them on Amazon. You can also find information about them at thenazareneway.com. And another book for further reading is this one, Dimensions of Paradise by John Mitchell. He does go into a lot of really interesting things as far as the New Jerusalem and the measurements that are given there, and early Christian churches and worship centers and the geometry that went into them. It's an interesting book. It's not necessarily a Christian book, though. I mean, some of the things that, just, fair warning, some of the things that they talks about are also kind of the occultic side of things, but nevertheless, it may be of interest to you if you want to check it out. And it has an index in the back where it actually lists the numbers, and so you can just look a number up and see what it says about a particular number if you think you have a number that may be a some kind of like sacred numerology kind of thing. Okay, so in part 1 we looked over the numbers in Luke chapter 1, and we saw that they were all connected to light. And so then we turn to chapter 2, and we actually start out in chapter 2 looking at the 84 for the age of Hannah. But there were some other numbers in chapter 2. The verses are listed on your screen, but the numbers are 8, 2, 7, 84, 12, and 3. So what can we do with these numbers? Now, we've already treated 84, so we're going to set it aside. But what about the other numbers? Well, if we multiply 7, 12, and 2 times pi, we get 528, which is a harmonic of 1 mile being equal to 5,280 feet. 7, 12, and 3 times pi gives us 792. The mean diameter of the Earth is 7,920 miles, another harmonic of that measurement. And we multiply 7 times 8 times 3 times 12 times pi divided by 2, we get 3168. And a square drawn around the Earth will measure 31,680 miles. So again, when it comes to the geometry of the Earth, the globe, then these numbers pop up as being sacred numbers. And of course, I know a lot of my listeners are believers in the flat Earth. Not really getting into that there. I'm just telling you what these numbers represent. You may not believe in the globe if you don't want to, but I'm just telling you that there does seem to be a correlation with these numbers in Luke and what was believed and taught by the Pythagoreans and other groups that held to sacred geometry and the measurements that we're told about the Earth. Also, when it comes to gematria, 3168 equals the gematria in Greek of what we would say in English, Lord Jesus Christ, Kyrios, Jesus, Christos. 3168 was honored by the early Christians as a sacred number. They did understand and have insights into the alphanumeric significance of Greek and the Hebrew languages and connections with the creative word. And you can look at the address at the bottom of your screen, or just Google 3168 and you'll find lots of information about it. So from there, we would move on to chapter 3. And there's only 3 numbers that are given in chapter 3, 15, 2, and 30. The verses are on your screen. And there's really not much you can do with these. You can try adding them, you can try multiplying them, but it doesn't really give us any kind of numbers that strike out as being significant. So before we give up, though, let's just go back to chapters 1 and 2, and let's see if we can take all 3 chapters worth of numbers and see if we can work out anything with them. So I mentioned earlier that we were setting 84 aside, so let's stick to that plan. We'll go with the numbers in green first, multiply them together, and we get 3628 800. And then when we multiply the letters in yellow, we get the same number minus a 0, 362,880. Now, at first glance, these numbers don't appear to be significant, but they are actually mentioned twice in John Mitchell's book. And the bottom number first is what is called factorial 9. And factorial 9 is 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5 times 6 times 7 times 8 times 9. And that comes up to the number that we get when we multiply the yellow numbers. The other one, which would be pretty easy to figure out, is factorial 10, which is essentially the same number with just another 0. But both of these numbers were considered sacred numbers. And not only that, but as we saw with the numbers in chapter 2, they related to like measurements and geometry and that sort of thing. The traditional value of the Great Meridian, the circle passing through the Earth's poles, is 114,048,000 Egyptian feet. And so then if you convert that over to, if you were to look at the diameter of that Great Meridian, the Great Meridian would actually have a value of 36,288,000 feet, which again you have the 36288, another harmonic of both of these numbers. So the question is not so much what's the significance of these numbers. At least in my mind, it's not. The thing that's much more significant type of question is, why are all these sacred Pythagorean or Essene numbers, what are they doing in the Gospel of Luke? And so in the next video, we're going to get away from the math a little bit, and we're going to look at some of the enigmas that we might see showing up in the Gospel of Luke and what could be the secret message behind them. So I thank you for listening, and I pray this has been a blessing to you, and I wish you shalom.